Hola and welcome to the channel. I am going to go over the horror series Serverblight, created by two idiot Germans. That is their shared channel, and each has their own, and I will say go support them. I am going to go through spoilers but also recap each video. So if you don't want to hear me recapping the videos, there will be a timestamp to skip ahead. So going to the playlist that they created, there are 5 videos dedicated to Serverblight. And with that, I hope you enjoy. Subscribing and like will mean a lot to me, and let's get started. The first video is called Empty Server, and I'm not gonna say the username because obvious. The name of our main protagonist is Aaron. He will join a community server, most likely trying to escape the bots of the casual servers, and he will look around to see his team, but he will see no one. He will then text and chat or anyone to respond, but he will only get a response from the opposite team, a player named Ghillie Suit, and he will respond with KYS to Aaron. Aaron will respond that is rude, and I like these little interactions because it seems like typical TF2 behavior. Aaron will go out into the map, but he will see that there's no other players in it until he sees a red spy. The red spy is running away, doesn't seems to care that the sniper is right in front of him, and he will just jump off the cliff. And once he jumps off the cliff, the username Bread Dolphin will disconnect from the server. Aaron will find it funny, and then a red scout would appear, and Aaron will try to shoot him, but he will miss. And then the scout will just stand there, making an odd expression like he wants Aaron to take the shot, which Aaron does, and he kills the scout. Aaron will just say that everyone is bad, and continue on around the map. Ghillie Suit will just keep on repeating his phrase from earlier, KYS. Aaron, after exploring the map, he will find a dead red heavy, and he will try to disconnect the match, but realize he can't leave the game. He will just continue to explore the map until he finds a red engineer, and it will be Ghillie Suit, who will keep on repeating his kind words. The engineer player models will start moving oddly, and Aaron will question it. As Ghillie Suit continues to go forward and ignoring his question, he will repeat the phrase KYS and try to warn Aaron that he should leave. Ghillie Suit would then just take the sniper's machete and run off after seeing something behind Aaron. Aaron will slowly turn around to see a heavy arm around the corner and notice that the model has 6 fingers. After that, it starts doing a distorted grunt, which Aaron just decides to run away. And he will enter the room, finding Ghillie Suit is dead, and in Ghillie Suit's own blood, leaving a message, "Don't let it take you alive." And then we hear the monster groan louder, and it starts chasing Aaron. We don't get a good look of the monster, but notice that it is a corrupted version of the TF2 characters. Aaron would run as the monster, known as the Blight, is catching up. But he will be able to jump off a cliff and disconnect from the server, similar to how the spy did during the beginning. And then the Blight, not jumping off, will just go back as it failed to capture its next victim. And that's the end of the first video. The next one is named Migration. We are right where we left off as Aaron was able to escape and disconnect. A new player joins the server, and the player will pick an engineer. And Ghillie Suit will type, "I'm having so much fun." And now we get to know who our new player is, and his username is JohnnyDanny12, and he will respond to Ghillie Suit with "good for you." Johnny will do the typical engineer stuff, guarding the payload, and then he will notice that Ghillie Suit is constantly repeating his text, causing Johnny to respond to him to shut up, but Ghillie Suit will keep on spamming the text, "I'm having so much fun." While this is going on, Johnny is looking around the map, looking for anyone, but would eventually hear thuds and find Ghillie Suit. Ghillie Suit's engineer is now constantly slamming into the ground, repeating the phrase again, "I'm having so much fun." Johnny would question what is that, and then the Blight approaches behind Ghillie Suit and starts chasing Johnny. Johnny will start running away, but before the Blight could catch him, he will disconnect, most likely using Alt F4 to disconnect from the server. But the monster was really close to him, a few centimeters, maybe even touched him. But once Johnny disconnects, the monster says thank you, and it also vanishes with a list of players disconnecting right behind it. And the last one being Ghillie Suit. So we could assume that list of players were all of its victims. The next video gives us the name of the series, Serverblight. In the start, we follow a medic and his username is Hector, and he is the first one to have a voice, as the others were just texting in chat. He and his friend Aaron are playing a regular match, and both will work together to win. They are having fun, and Hector will teach Aaron how to do a kill bind to make the player KYS in game. After seeing their player model, Ragdoll, they will go on to the next game. Both will spawn in and only see one other teammate, a heavy. Hector thinks that they're going to lose and wants to go casual, but Aaron refused to leave. Then, a bunch of lists of players join the game, and the last name to join is Ghillie Suit. Aaron is a soldier right now, not a sniper this time, and he will have a face that looks like he's getting PTSD from just seeing that name. He will text in the chat to Hector that they need to leave as he knows the name, but when the two try to disconnect, they cannot leave. Hector, not knowing why Aaron is like these, assumes it's just a cheater and tells Aaron that they can win the game. The two get ready, and then Hector talks to the heavy that is in their team, asking if he will join them, but the heavy named Scuba Master will just respond in the chat with "We go together" and runs off on his own. Hector will just call him an idiot, and Aaron and Hector will just secure the payload alone. And notice that the map is empty, no other players in sight. But then eventually Hector will see, in the corner of his eye, a scout quickly running up some stairs. So he wants to go out to chase the scout and kill him. Aaron will try to say that they shouldn't, but Hector will continue on. Hector will kill the scout before Aaron gets to the room. But when Aaron enters, he will ask Hector if he is okay, and Hector will say what, but then say yeah in an unsure way. We can also notice that the scout has 6 fingers. So this is most likely the Blight in disguise. The two would then just hear shooting from a distance, and then they decide to continue to the payload. The two will hear more gunshots again, and decide to go check on their teammate this time. Hector agrees and start going, but Aaron takes a moment to pause and looks back, seeing the Red Scout from a distance crawl away. The soldier's player model is now showing more expression, showing fear and gripping his gun tighter, and Aaron will just snap out of it when Hector calls him out. The two will finally find their teammate, Scuba Master, and Hector will call out to him as he has his back turned, but Scuba Master will only respond with, "We go together." He will drop his gun and slowly turn around to face the two, and that's when we see that a hand hiding back within the heavy's mouth. He then begins to charge towards the two, and in chat repeats, "We go together." And then it will also appear that Scuba Master's name will have dead in front of it. The corrupted heavy will start having its hands elongated and stretched out to try to capture the two. But when the two go back against a wall, they will quickly vote to kick Scuba Master, which works. Aaron will then repeat that they need to leave, trying to tell Hector that the last time it happened, they jump off the map. Hector will agree, and both of them will go off to the death pit to escape. While hiding, they will see a red demo just hitting himself in the wall, and Hector wants to kill him, but Aaron will stop him, saying it is a trick, and then they just move on along. Aaron will then stumble across a red engineer laying on the ground, one of his legs being stretched out into the spawn room. The red engineer will stay laying down, and in chat it would appear, "Is this heaven? Why is it cold?" And the engineer typing these is Johnny Danny 12. So sadly, he wasn't able to escape. Aaron would then take out a shotgun, attempting to do a mercy kill, but then the monster will come out, and the two will start running away from it, and the corrupted demo will then appear, having its arms stretch out and extra limbs, but Aaron will be able to shoot a rocket at it, killing it. But while leaving, the corpse will slowly move away. Aaron will repeat to Hector that he has seen it before, and Hector will say what? Aaron would then just go on to details that the monster is learning, and it's copying players' behavior, and Hector will keep on repeating saying what, but Aaron will continue to go on his explanation. Hector will keep on repeating the same what. So Aaron realized what is going on. Hector has been taken, and the medic will have a hand coming out of its mouth. Now the infected Hector would stretch out his arms, and in a distorted voice he would say, Aaron would just run away as the Blight tries to get him, and while running, he will see 2 other Blight monsters going after him too. Aaron will be able to rocket jump into the death pit, being able to escape from the monster once again. He will drop a final text saying that he's sorry, and then he will disconnect. Hector's player model slowly goes back to normal, and then as Aaron left, 3 new players will join in the match, and then the medic smiles. The next video is called Puppet. This time it's just a narration, and our narrator is a victim of the monster, and he will start explaining his scenario. Feeling numb and doesn't remember how he got there, he just remembers being home. He starts to explain that he doesn't have control over his body, hearing groans, and then explains how he's feeling something in his neck, like a hand being there. He is not able to move and feels that his body is not right. He thinks that it is misshaped, that limbs are too long and some are too short. He can't move any of them either, and is pushed forward. He can't see much and assumes that there are bodies around him and hears groans again. And then he actually realizes that one of them is his own, that he's not really able to speak and only speaking in his mind. And then once he is dropped, he is finally getting the chance to see. And what he sees is the TF2 textures and body parts mixing with one another. The blight is controlling him and the other victims to create a mass body with different body parts, controlling them to get the next victim, a spy. As he tries to refuse, he could feel that the blight is enjoying the resistance and keeps on pushing him to get the spy. At the end of the video, we see the names of the players that joined the red team after Aaron, and we could assume that the blight actually took them as they all disconnect together. On to the current one and recently released one at the moment, Assimilation. Starts off looking like a normal match. There are some players texting in chat, and the map is dustable. In this one, we actually get to see the player in real life. So he chooses to play spy and goes off to do spy stuff, going behind the enemy red team, and he will stalk to wait for the right moment to attack. But then he will hear a groan in real life, so he turns around, but while this happens, he dies in-game. And we get to see his username, and it is Crinks, and then he respawns. He will repeat his steps, while at the same spot as last time, he will hear a groan again, and he will turn around in-game this time, and see a red sniper, but he will just move away so that the sniper could pass through. And then he would strike and kill the red team's medic. While running away, strange things will start to happen. First, in real life, his hands will change for a second into Spy's hand, and while saying WTF, the Spy player model will move its mouth. Then a hand quickly appears and disappears behind the player in real life, and then in-game, a soldier from a distance would appear and stare but then quickly hide back in the corner. Crinks will type in chat what is it with the server, and then he will go back towards the battle which has stopped, and both teams are looking at him even though he is cloaked. The chat would just repeat the same words from the start, and then Crinks would start running away as the others would start to chase him. While turning the corner, the soldier from before is now the typical corrupted blight player model with its hands stretched out, and he will chase the spy. The spy will go down a tunnel losing the soldier and will try to disconnect, but he cannot. And the player in real life will look over his shoulder and notice that he is in the tunnel from the game. So he goes back playing the game and he continues to run and tries to capture the point. But when he does, it says that he's not capturing the point because of an enemy team, and he turns to see a thumb that is stretched out. He will follow the path, and then that's when he sees the blight, a corrupted heavy, Scuba Master's heavy from the previous video. And in chat types, we go together. The spy player model is showing more expression. It already dropped its knife, and it is copying the same expression as its real life counterpart. The two, Spy and Crinks, are unable to move, and the chat continues to repeat the phrase "we go together" over and over. As the blight begins to take him, the screen becomes corrupted, and we see the spy being transformed to be one with the monster, and then the ending shows Crinks' lifeless corpse. So again, there's only 5 videos out in the moment. The structure is nice as each video gives us something new about the blight. The word blight is usually describing something that infects or destroys something by infection, which we could see that the monster is infecting the servers of TF2 and real life. And we can only assume that there's one blight, but we don't know, we just know it could control multiple players. At the start, we see that it's not using the chat, but still got some victims. It will try to get Aaron, but he will escape by jumping off. So here's one of the first rules. If you join this server, you will get infected. It is like a mark, as it is not taking you, but you still can't escape. The spy Bread Dolphin was able to escape by jumping off, similar to Aaron, but the other two, Ghillie Suit and the Scout, were not able to do that. But why were they captured and not Aaron and the spy? We can assume that monster cannot grab bodies in the death zone, as when it chases Eren, he doesn't jump to chase after him. He lets Eren die and escape, while the other two died in normal ground, so they most likely got captured by that. We are unsure if Alt F4 works, probably not, but Johnny Danny tried it and he was close to escaping the monster, but he was too close to the monster that he got captured either way. But this will also help the monster be able to move from server to server as he says thank you and leaves the match. The second video name is Migration, so now we know where it learns to move away from server to server. The Blight in each video will learn something new, and in the second it will use a decoy body, ghillie suit, to get Johnny Danny to go near it. But then in the third video, named Serverblight, it will use bait multiple times, with the first one being the scout that will get Hector. And another example of a good bait will be in the same video, and it will use Johnny Danny 12 to get Eren closer, which almost worked, but didn't. The Blight will also learn to copy voice chat during this third video, and will use phrases like,
Eren? You good? Yo, Heavy, you with us? Yeah.
and other voice lines to hide that Hector has been taken. But you can notice it if you rewatch it and pay attention to the details.
Yo, Heavy.
A little question I got while watching the third video is why doesn't the Blight take the soldier? Because he was so close to Eren multiple times but still didn't attack. And I think the fourth video explains why. As we see the point of view of the victim, he tells us that the monster likes its resistance. So it likes tormenting its victims, and we could assume it wanted to mess with Eren before getting him. In the final video, I think it confirms that the Blight is paranormal, as it's able to affect the real world and take the mind of its victim, leaving the body alone. The word assimilation, which is the final video, or not final but recent video, means taking in, but it also means consuming and absorbing. And if we believe that the Blight is a living thing, we can assume that it is eating people, as I believe because of the fourth video, the puppet, the sniper says that there's a pile of bodies, and I think we can assume that there are some victims that are alive, but I think some of those bodies are dead bodies, that the Blight already ate them. But that's just my thought. So two things we can think is either that the Blight is a living creature or an evil AI that affects the real world. If we're going with the AI, I think of like I have no mouth and a mush screen as it keeps on learning and it enjoys tormenting its victim. Going back to it, learning new things, in the latest video, the Blight is in the map Dust Bowl, making it seem like it learns that it needs to remove ways for players to escape. The Blight is able to make conversations that seem normal and control multiple players to make it seem like a normal match. The Blight is continued to grow and learn as each video goes on, so we don't even know if it has a limit on it. From copying voice to making a whole match look real, we don't know the possibilities of it. But we could try to think of some of the weakness that we could assume it has. First one is from a comment that I saw in one of the videos, and that if the Blight keeps on capturing people and taking their minds, eventually maybe a rebellion could happen. Which I think could happen. Say if Eren gets captured, I think he would be able to start the rebellion because he seems to be the luckiest and kind of the only one to survive this long. Another weakness of it is that the Blight can only get players if they die on the ground instead of jumping off the cliff. So what happens if a pyro blows it off the cliff and makes the Blight dies? A thing we have seen about the Blight is that it could be blown up and it will still continue. Either that each player is a hive mind type of thing, or that it has a main body, so if you kill the main body, all of it dies. But we are unsure of it, and I feel like it's too smart to have just one main body out and exposed to kill it completely. At the same time, it could be its own downfall if it just wants to torment people with its own main body. So some mysteries that I think of is, what is the Blight? Because we still don't know. We're just assuming from things that we see. And why TF2? I think the reason for why TF2 is not needed, but it just makes the Blight more interesting as it's a game that a lot of people likes, and also the animations are really cool. With its bright color, it makes it horrifying when it turns into a horror series. Alright, so another mystery, Red Dolphin, what happened to him? I hope we get to see him in the next video or something, as we have gotten 2 videos that don't relate to Eren. So that would be cool. We could finally see what happened to that spy as he left And we could assume that the Blight wants to get him too, as the Blight wanted to get Aaron, fighting him in another match. So these are things that I like about the horror series: the music and the storytelling. And what do I mean by that? The story for each one, except for the puppet, is a normal game. The music is also normal at first, but both will turn slowly into horror. There's also some music that are sprinkled in that goes well in capturing and setting the mood for certain moments. An example like Johnny. And another thing I like about these is the twist and gut punch that the creators are able to put in. The first one is Johnny, as it sucked that he wasn't able to escape. But there's also a twist and gut punch with it, is that he is supposed to be a kid, so that makes it sad. But then it gets worse in the next two videos, as it is revealed that the victims are trapped within the Blight. So then that means he is dead and seeing everything unfold. But then the final video also gives us how the Blight takes its victims, showing that it kills them in real life and takes their mind into the game. So then that means Johnny's body is outside, dead, and his parents are just seeing him dead while he's in the game being tormented by the Blight. I also like the thought that no one is really gonna assume that the game is killing people. So that is also kind of terrifying, that it just a officer just seeing a body and it's like, well, we don't know how he died. He just died. Not by the video game. They're not gonna assume it's a video game killing them unless someone says it, but who will believe that? So I can't wait for the next videos of these series, and I hope it continues on. And I want to wait for several videos to come out before making another one. But if one is really interesting, then I might just make a solo video on it. And with these, this is my first digital horror video. If you have any suggestions, comment it down or leave it in the community tab. I will read it. Also, if you just want to discuss these wonderful series, I will read the comments and share my thoughts with you guys, but you guys could share your thoughts too. I would like to read them. And with that, I hope you enjoy. And subscribing and liking will mean a lot to me. So, tenas un buen día y adiós.